got to touch upon before I let you go, and we spoke about it earlier, and it's identity. As we're moving, you know, identity access and management, and on top of that, the privileged account management and governance, it's absolutely crucial. It always has been, but what's happened in the last 2 years has made it even more so. The most dynamic thing that we've seen happen in the space was Okta leading, but also noticing the biggest emerging threat to them was Auth0, so they just went out and bought them. And I thought that was a genius move, because you had Okta was really more considered like a plug and play type of name where you could just go buy the whole suite, where Auth0 was a little bit more developer friendly, where you can kind of build your own. Now they have both. So I'd be curious first, from your perspective, do you like this company as a combined entity? Are you upset because you would rather have just worked with Auth0 alone, as I've heard your peers say? But I would just love your take on the acquisition to start.
Yeah, because I think when you look at Okta, their first footprint was in, hey, we're going to be able to help connect all your enterprise applications together with a single sign-on aspect. And I think that's where they succeeded through that plugin model. What they didn't address was the fact that what about all the players outside of that realm? Yes, they covered the major players in regards to sort of, well, Salesforce, Workday, all of those things, and then from an outside enterprise for a corporate organization. But when it never really, the difficulty was when it came to connecting to in-house development in regards to applications. Ultimately, I think where the Auth0 stuff is when you look at a partnership from a global identity perspective, that's where the next phase is of where everybody is going. And what I mean by that is when you're a large organization, say you've got like 100 million end customers, you sort of want to partner up with your partners where you're providing a service with that single sign-on aspect, because you don't want to have to, two things. One, you don't want to give up your customer by having to them recreate their credentials in somewhere else, so that a pathway works. The integration works because it means you're supplementing your security model to that other partner as well. So your user has a level of trust, because ultimately it comes all down to trust, is that they can trust the fact that they're logging onto a third party that's associated with you with the same set of credentials that they already have. And then to sort of give your audience a better view, this is really fundamentally what sort of you look at what Google or Facebook they've done, right? It's that's why you see their icons on almost every page. It's that ability to have a single identity across all platforms. And so ultimately that's where I think, again, identity is going, is that whoever can be the trusted owner of identity helps, because then it helps in regards to credential stuffing, all of the things, passwords, getting rid of passwords, finally going to two-factor authentication and a better methodology. And then it's the sort of the next leap to sort of biometrics or whatever else we want in that space, because ultimately when you start to look at the spread of a user's data, not only from a corporate perspective, but a personal perspective, you want to start to tie those two things together.
It's a great answer. And part of that, though, is that consumers are more willing, right? You mentioned Facebook or Google, and I can go Christmas shopping right now and just sign in using Google all day long. But on the enterprise side, I'm curious, is Microsoft going to just use Azure Directory and then try to, I don't know, on the corporate side where things are a lot more difficult, who possibly could do that? Could anybody do that for us on the corporate side?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those bigger players, right? It's going to be the Microsoft or because I think, as you mentioned, yes, the consumer is more willing to understand that, yeah, look, I don't want to create a new one. I think on the enterprise side, what you'll see is in the background, effectively, you may be using the same credentials, but ultimately it's going to be a token or ID that's not associated to it. It's associated in the sense that it's the link, but it's not the same string, if you want to call it the string in the background that's there. And then you already see this classic example in the real world in the sense of your credit card number is now unique for every transaction because they're using a different pseudonym in regards to the 16 number PAM. I think it's that same modeling, is that from the user's perspective, it looks the same. In the background, it's the technology actually doing it. So you're not compromising your enterprise account against your consumer account.
The closest I've seen to that is Active Directory with ServiceNow. So if you have it well done and tied in, you've got an ID, and ServiceNow has all of your applications deployed. But that seems like it would leave Okta in the dust. So I'm just curious, going back to, as we move towards that, I'm just curious what the runway is for Okta and Auth0 as they move past just single sign-on Recently, the company announced that they're going to spread their wings and go after SailPoint and CyberArk. They think they can actually tie into the privileged access management, the identity governance as well. I did a panel on this with your peers, and a lot of them were very hesitant. They said, A, I would love the consolidation if they can pull it off. B, I'm a hybrid organization that's been around for a long time with a lot of applications, and I don't think Okta is going to pay me to rewrite those APIs. So I don't really see this happening. So I'm just curious, let's just focus a little bit on Okta and the combined company now. As we move forward, the trends you're saying seem to be going away from just straight SSO, and their launch into new areas seem to have some hurdles. How do you see this working out for Okta as they combine and then try to spread into new areas?
Yeah, I think the problem there is that when you look at, I think it works for all use cases except privilege management, simply because when you're looking at privilege management, that is the vault ultimately of the people that you want to have the highest level of security. And so you're going to always partition those separately from not only from the perspective of provisioning and providing privilege access, you also want to have change control in regards to the self-service model of that. So that's where I see that differentiating in the sense that that's why SailPoint is in there, simply because they're targeting and privilege management has been around for 20 years and no one's really done it well. I think SailPoint's the first one from a self-service model that has really succeeded there. Because it creates a change management, it creates the right level. You can tune it to the fact that who's the individual, where are they coming from. It's a ticketed approach. It's a time lapse approach of how long you also have that access. And so I think that's really when you look at what privileged access is about. I can't see Okta doing that simply because Okta is really about more of a connector. It doesn't get into the real true credentials aspect of what we're trying to talk about.